Okay. So Lily, can you tell me what your childhood was like?
Yeah, my childhood was pretty average, I would say. Normal. I have a lot of siblings. I grew up pretty happy childhood. I went um to school. I hung out with friends, a lot of extracurriculars. Um yeah, I grew up with a religious upbringing. I grew up with a structured upbringing, and it was pretty average for the most part.
What kind of, and it's Orthodox
Mhm.
Jewish? Okay. How did that affect your childhood? Were there specific customs that you would follow or,
Yeah. Definitely. We had a lot of Orthodox Jewish customs, and
okay?
we weren't much of outsiders because I grew up in an area where many Orthodox Jewish people lived. So, such as we stopped for Shabbat during the weekends where we just didn't do electronics at all, and then the different holidays, which are a lot. And I went to a Jewish school, so there's a lot of
Okay.
Jewish things there as well.
And how many siblings do you have?
I have five siblings, three sisters and two brothers.
Okay, and then where do you fall in the
So
in
I'm
the
the
sibling?
fourth. I'm the fourth, and then there's two girls below me.
Oh wow, okay.
Hmm.
So, do you have a childhood memory that you're really fond of? Something that sticks out that you remember?
Yes, I have a lot of different memories. I would say one that comes to mind right now would be since we're on the topic of religion and upbringing, is when I went to um when I with my siblings. We used to go to the park all the time. Specifically on the weekends when we couldn't use electronics because of Shabbat. We'd go to the park, and I went with my siblings, and we had a lot of fun. And I remember specifically due to my weakness, it was difficult for me to, you know, keep up with the other children, but I did learn how to do the monkey bars, and that's been a metaphor for my entire life, is just getting over those fears, and getting across those monkey bars is something I learned a lot from that, and that's something that comes to mind right now.
Did that take a lot of time for you to get across them? Like, did you work on it a lot
Yeah,
or
I kept on falling. At first I didn't want to because I was scared, but I mean, as long as you're able to get right back up afterwards, the falling can't stop you, you know? So it did take a while, but it's one of my fondest memories. And now when I go back, I mean, I'm touching them with my feet still on the ground, but it's interesting to remember that I used to swing across.
and is there something your parents told you or either a conversation with your mom or your dad that really sticks out to you and something that you still either something they said that you still
Mhm.
hold on to or
Yeah, something my dad used to say to me all the time was, when you fall, you get up and you try again. So that was specifically with riding a bike. I grew up weaker than my siblings, but I was never, you know, I was never encouraged to not try. I was always encouraged
oh
to
yeah.
try. So the bike, I mean, I would fall all the time, fall, and my dad took off the training wheels and he said, "Yes, you're gonna fall," but he would look at me and he would say, "When you fall, you get right back up and you try again." And that has stuck with me since.
So how long did it take you to ride a bike, go across the monkey bars compared to your siblings?
Yes, I would say probably double the amount of time. Uh,
Okay.
yeah,
So weeks, months?
yeah, probably to learn how to ride on my own probably took me like a couple months, maybe to a year. The monkey
Okay.
bike was much quicker, maybe a couple weeks, but the bike was a couple months. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So if you were to write an autobiography about your life so far, what do you think you would call it?
Um, well, we're actually working on a documentary that does shed light a lot on my life, and I think what I would call it is I really think I would call it Die Strong, and there's a lot of different opinions on that name because it can seem kind of dark, but it's really my mindset. I mean, you can either live a life of weakness or you can live um for your purpose, and when your time comes, you go after, you go strongly. So I would call it die strong because that's what gets me through life is thinking that I want to live strong despite my muscle weakness.
Do you fear dying, or did you fear that more when you were younger?
Yeah, I don't fear dying so much. I mean I don't fear dying. I fear not living to my fullest potential, but as long as we wake up every day and we try.
What
So
is
I don't.
what full potential, what does that look like for you?
It looks like getting up every day and putting your best effort and not being scared to live, not being scared to die trying, basically. I mean, it's not as literal as people might take it. It's more so like you can't prove something is impossible because you'll die trying. If you're actually trying, you'll keep going, you'll keep going, you'll keep going until eventually your time's up, you know? So you can't really prove it's impossible.
So then what does life mean to you?
Um, what life means to me is how we can live each day to help uplift the next person. It's kind of what we can leave on this earth. I really strongly believe life isn't, I mean, we do need to live for ourselves in some regard, but at the end of the day, we live um, for others or for each other, I should say, um, to be the best versions of ourselves together.
What do you find really hard about living?
What I find really hard about living is, I would say vulnerability, since a lot of my job is opening up and being vulnerable about my life. It can be difficult, but I think it's important for me to do. And also, in a physical aspect, walking, climbing stairs, it's difficult for me. It really is. It causes pain, but I work each day to get stronger, but that would definitely be something that's difficult for me.
Do you find that are there ever days when you find yourself more discouraged than others? So it's,
Yeah. Sorry.
I was gonna say there are days when it's easier to, because I know you're talking about reaching your full potential, trying each day, but then are there days where you feel like you don't try as hard as you could? And how do you process on the days when it's harder? How do you keep going, kind of thing?
Yeah. There are definitely days where it's harder. Like the other day, actually, it's if it with my condition, a neuromuscular disease, which is like extreme bouts of fatigue.
Yeah.
Um, you can wake up one day and you're getting up, you're normal, and the next day you wake up, you can barely get out of your covers. So I think like I can barely lift the blanket some days. I think what really keeps me going is I need those moments of extreme weakness and extreme sadness or depression or whatever you want to call it, because I need to be reminded that other people are feeling this way too. And so the reason I'm doing this is to uplift them, and that makes me feel like I have a purpose. So it helps me continue on.
Do you find any comfort at all from your faith?
Yes, sometimes more than others. Um, it's definitely something that has gotten me through my life is my faith, my belief in God, my um belief that everything happens for a reason. I will say it's not easy to always hold those beliefs, but
Yeah.
in some of my darkest moments, it's definitely helped me get through. Yeah, or the values that my religion teaches me. If not God, if I'm having trouble one day believing in God, it's the values. Like you live not just for yourself, but for others, and that reminds me that I should live each day not just for myself.
But do you ever find yourself, because I know for me, if I'm
Mhm,
going through a really hard time, I'll find myself angry at
mhm,
God even because I'm like this, this is not, even if this is encouraging someone else, I'm struggling to deal with this and I don't
mhm.
understand. Do
Right.
you ever like talk to God about that, or to you is it like, okay, well, this is my duty to do? How do you balance the feelings you experience, which are human and real,
Mhm.
with your faith at the same time?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good question. I relate to what you're expressing for sure. But I don't I mean not but it's just I don't think I feel much. There are definitely moments of anger, but
Mhm.
it's very like mild anger. It's more so
Okay.
sadness sometimes. Like like why do you do this to me or why? And it's like there's got to be a reason. So I feel very sad or I feel sad and then I think about other people's struggles that they're going through and um but what helps me is realizing that everybody has a struggle. Um, I'm not any more special. I'm not any more different. Um, we each have our own struggle. We don't know what the next person's going through, right? So it's like what really helps is to stop like comparing. When I start comparing my life to others,
Mm,
whether it's online or in it puts me down this deep, deep hole and it's really not healthy. It's like we could be so much happier if we just stopped looking at other people's lives, right? And
mm.
comparing, especially because we don't know what their goods are and what their bads are.
What would be your goods right now? What are the
Mhm.
things that you find really beautiful about life?
Some of the things I find really beautiful about life right now. Well, I like sharing on my platform. I'm meeting some incredible people. I got to connect with you. I got to connect with some other people that are reaching out and sharing their stories and wanting to hear more about mine. Um, I'm moving to New York to start to continue school. It's just it's hard every day, but if you like you said, you focus on the good, and that those are some of the goods. It's my family's healthy, I'm healthy for the most part. I'm not getting weaker. So yeah.
And is there something you want to do that you haven't done yet?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Recently I realized I want to I became more involved in fashion. So along with my
Yeah.
platform, so I call myself an ability activist because I don't know, I have trouble understanding the word disabled. It's not so logical to me because I'm not disabled. I'm more so I just have a disability, but some people like the word, so I'm not trying to stigmatize the word further, just saying personally. So, and then as I become more involved in fashion, I've realized how me achieving something that I never thought I could do
Yeah.
is a strong message to others. So it's not so much about representation because people with disabilities are fairly represented in the fashion industry, depending, but it's more so about achieving something you never thought you could do. So I'd love to have a fashion show um, with all different abilities and just an inclusive fun time. That's one of my goals.
Where would that be? Like, would you want that to be in New York or?
I haven't put much thought into that. Probably New York, yeah. That's where I've learned most of my fashion and where I've become most involved.
What do you like wearing the most? Is there like an outfit or a certain style that you enjoy personally to wear?
hmm it changes. I used to only wear black when I was younger. I mean, I'm wearing black right now. But now I wear a lot of color. I love dresses that you can just slip on because they're easiest for me. So, and then I love I just love anything colorful and
Mm.
big. Um,
Why
yeah.
did you used to wear black? What was the change and then wanting color?
Um, I just think I didn't really care as much. I didn't have a much of a taste for fashion. I didn't um prioritize it as much. I was more simple, I guess. But ever since I became more involved in fashion, it's and interviews and I like to wear different things. So, yeah.
Is there a person currently, either or it could be someone who's passed away that you look up to, that you want to be more like and emulate?
Yes, there's a few, but the one I can think of now, she's actually on my wall, is Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Um, I think that regardless of her politics or her political views, she led with grace and I'm looking at her, but care and kindness for everyone. So she was a leader, which I hope to be to others, and she led with grace.
And how, what do you think makes a good leader?
I think a good leader is someone who can stand by their beliefs,
Mm.
someone who can lead in a way that gets others to follow them, can lead in a way that uplifts others if they're not leading for themselves but to uplift others.
What do you think are there qualities that you would like to grow in that you see that you would be that you need more of to be a good leader to you?
Yes, I definitely see where I need to improve. I need more patience, especially with my sisters. We fight a lot. I think if I could gain more patience and more understanding of other people and their struggles, less comparing. I compare a lot. I should compare less.
What do you, when you say you and your sisters argue, what do you argue about? Like just life or
Like,
struggles or
yeah, like life struggles from the smallest things, like sharing clothes, to like bigger things, like values and ethics and morals and how we think of the world. We're all very strong-minded, so we clash. But if I could work on just understanding other people's values to be their own, I think we could fight much less.
Hmm. Is there something what's one thing you'd like to change about the world if you could?
One thing I'd like to change about the world, and the reason I continue to do this, is this perspective surrounding disabilities. I think there's a lot of unspoken pity. And I think that can oftentimes come from within. I don't know where it comes from, but what I would like to change is this pity that surrounds disability, because I think that a person with a disability, myself, it's my own struggle, but the next person has their own. So we all have a struggle, and I don't think one can be said to be worse than the other. I think we just need to uplift each other and see the good in each person. So I'm trying to bring more light, positivity, confidence, fun around having a disability, because it doesn't have to be bad.
And do you, because I think this is even going in part by what you're saying, but
Mhm.
when you're talking about the term disability, if you're saying I have a disability, but I'm disabled, is the difference between them is that labeling disabled, saying that that's who you are, that's like your
Mhm.
identity. Whereas if you
Yeah.
say I have a disability, it's like I have something, like everyone has, I have
Yeah.
anxiety or depression or
Yeah.
whatever, it's something you struggle with. Is that the difference for you that really stands out?
Yes, 100%. And that's very well said. And to add to that, it's that like labeling someone disabled, it pulls them into this group that they never even, yeah, and not everyone said they wanted to be a part of. When you're putting someone to a group that share values and share ways of living, I possibly don't share those values, but if you label someone as disabled, they're pulled into that group without um wanting to be part of that group. And I have no fear of being called disabled. I have no fear with being associated with those who like to be called disabled. I simply think the word is illogical, and I get a lot of hate comments for saying that. But I want to clarify that I'm expressing the mindset that has helped me get through my disability. Um, I don't think disabled is a bad word. I just think to call someone unable is illogical because while I have a disability, I'm very capable of doing many things,
Hmm.
and disabled translates to not abled. So it just doesn't make sense for me.
Right. That makes a lot of sense.
Mm.
Um, what do you think is an element of nature that you really love that either encourages you or speaks to you as a person?
Um, an element of nature. Many things, I think. Hmm, it's a good question. Could you give me an example?
So like some people have said ocean, some people have
Yeah.
said trees,
Mm-hmm.
um, one person said birds.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, like, I remember one person answered they love birds because they love the idea of freedom, being
Wow.
able to fly,
I
things
was
like
gonna,
that.
yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, automatically what I can think of is rain, only because I like the rain, but I'm not sure. I've never really thought how it speaks to me. That's a very good question. I like the way it's calm.
Yeah. Do you like are you a tea or a coffee person?
Coffee.
Coffee. So if it's raining, do you like to like read a book with coffee? Does it make you sleepy or does make you
Yeah, sleepy. I
energetic?
don't I don't want to go out. I want to stay
Yeah.
in. You know?
I've met people though where it gives them so much energy, but for me, I'm like I like to just cuddle in a
Right.
blanket and read.
Really, some people want to go out. That's interesting.
Yeah, I get a lot of energy. Um, how about an animal? Is there an animal you relate to personality wise?
It's an animal I relate to. Um, I don't know if I so much relate, but I love I'm a dog person. I love, love, love dogs. I would say, yeah, I guess I do relate to them. I think dogs are like they're there like just to make
Yeah.
humans happy. Like they get so much happiness from making humans happy. So
Do you have a dog?
I have two
Okay.
Siberian Samoyeds, yeah.
What are they?
Samoyeds, the white fluffy one.
Oh, oh man, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
What are their names?
Tosca and Puccini. My dad's a very big opera fan, so he named them after operas or like characters in operas.
Is there a piece of music that you really identify with or love?
Well, so I play some classical, so Chopin and Debussy, but what I listen to on the daily is honestly Taylor Swift. I very much like her music. I think
Do you have a song in particular you really like?
of hers. Well, right, right. It always switches, but right now I'm listening to August on repeat because it
Yeah.
is August and there's a lot of hype around that song now. But I love her music.
And then do you have a favorite book?
Favorite book? Hmm. I honestly haven't read for leisure in a while, but I would say the book I'm reading now, um, I forgot what it's called. Yeah, I don't know. It's a book about self-help and
Mm.
why am I forgetting the name? It's by a Jewish woman and she talks about the different personalities of each person and like what type you are. And
Oh, okay.
I love a bunch of self-help books. That's what I'm very much into right now.
Okay. And then last question for you. Is there a time period in history that you would live in if you couldn't live in the one you're in? So if you couldn't live right now in this one, which one would you be interested to explore or live in?
Hmm. Wow. This is like very it's a time period that I lived in. Like it's nothing like the 80s or the 70s, but it's actually like the early 2000s. I
Mm,
wish I was like an adult then, right before social media, right before all of it just became constant communication. You know what I mean? Like some of my favorite music is early 2000s music, but I was just like 5 then.
yeah.
But a time period before like the 90s, before social media became everyone's life, you know, before we could go to school, come home, and we weren't constantly communicating. I think
Mm,
we've gone so far that we can't go back, and it's beautiful in many ways because we can share stories, we can meet like this, we can at the same time, like I envy the peace that so-called like millennials or 90s, um, the peace they might have had.
yeah. No, I agree with you.
Mhm.
At this point, I mean, we come out with new types of technology multiple times a year. So
Mm.
there's so many different formats.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's like we're constantly connected. It's interesting to see my sister lost her phone the other day and she had a trip the next day and we were freaking out. And it's interesting to see how much we rely on our cell phones. But like there was a point in time not so long ago, like 23 years ago, where people didn't rely on their cell phones. It's like it's more relatable because it's not so long ago.
Yeah, you're right.